Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
And this is over at Patreon again. A wonderful family, and you're welcome to come join us. Everything goes up on Patreon, and there's exclusives, usually more than once a week, sometimes 2 and 3, and even 4 times in a week. But it all depends on the flow, and there's a lot of craziness out there in this world at this time.
There is, and it really is a nice place to connect with people, because the biggest thing I hear from people is I'm all alone. I don't have anyone to talk to. And this is a place where you can connect with like-minded people who are listening to the same crazy stuff that you are.
Yeah, it's a no troll zone. There's
zone.
absolutely no trolls over at Patreon. Again, do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com as well. It's going to be updated shortly yet again. What you're looking at is a 6.3 according to the USGS in Esmeraldas, Ecuador, 35 kilometers depth. Right along the coastline, no reports of tsunami. As you can see here, this is to the northwest of Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador. Beautiful country. Unfortunately, there's a lot of buildings and structures there that are older and maybe not too well constructed. And so here you go. You can see there is damage from this earthquake. Man, it's been one quake after another. This is only, again, what they're calling a 6.3. Can you imagine if this was something bigger? As we've covered, the biggest recorded earthquake that we know about is a 9.5. Again, this is on that ring of fire. What I'm seeing is a lot of people calling attention to the new Madrid. As you can see, this has definitely caused damage. We do pray for everybody involved. I have not seen any reported injuries yet, but they do anticipate that there will be some injuries. Hopefully there's no fatalities. This was, Weather Mod here was calling it a 6.0. But USGS 6.3, and it's unusual to see them have a higher ranking than other sources. Usually they're one of the lowest. So it feels like we are right on the edge of something huge, doesn't it? I mean, it's just this feeling. There's so many reasons for it. We had a bunch of tornadoes yet again. We had hail the sizes of DVDs occurring. Texas, tornadoes, and north of there, Oklahoma. It's every day that you have the craziness going on in this world. This is Oklahoma. This is Freedom, Oklahoma. Look at that. That is very intimidating. Red alert issued. You have an eruption of a volcano in Costa Rica, Poas. This one has ejected ash 15,000 feet high. There's just a lot of signs going on that we are in a time of extreme turbulence. And then we have this. We have, this headline from the Telegraph, the UK news website of the year in 2024. Trump has 2 weeks to save America from empty shelves. As imports from China dwindle, U.S. retailers face a difficult choice. Pay the tariffs or suffer shortages. Will there be empty shelves? I mean, we again saw empty shelves with certain items back in 2020, 2021. And then there's this feeling that whole thing is going to reoccur at some time in the future, or they're going to try to pull another rabbit out of the hat. And I think people have had enough, and people are waking up in droves to what's been going on.
I think we're going to see a little less compliance that way, and a little more people stepping into their own power.
China preps for external shocks. Trade war escalates. There's so much conflicting info coming out. You had what seemed to be a signal that Trump was going to back off the tariffs with China and just work on a solution. And then you had just the opposite sort of statement come out. I have to think that it's all being done purposely to kind of yo-yo humanity up and down.
I think so too. It's keeping people off of their games. So the number one thing they should be focused on, which is their self, they can't, because they're too busy, looking around for danger.
And then all these channels coming out of the woodwork saying things about Chinese population, about, where there's hundreds of millions of people missing. I see more in my feed every day in regards to this, different channels I didn't even know existed. It's a curious phenomenon. And then you have, coming from China too, the thought that Xi is on his last maybe weeks or months before he might be overthrown, cast aside, step down, or what have you. It's very, very tenuous when you look out there. Reportedly, a North Korean KN-23 ballistic missile was used in the attack on Kiev, Ukraine last night that did claim 12 lives. And reportedly, too, there's been soldiers from China that have been captured. Others have said, no, that's not the case. These are just simply volunteers doing this on their own, as there's been mercenaries from many different countries involved in this war. And then you have this internal war going on in the U.S. Kash Patel just announced the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an illegal arrest operation last week. The internal thing, we've always known, we've said since the beginning of this channel back in 2017, that they want there to be some sort of civil war before WW3 plays out. Again, the system only has a few cards left in their hand, and they're more apt to play all of them. Here, you have a political earthquake occurring in Florida. Senate Minority Leader leaves the dynamic Democratic Party. Holy sheep dip, yeah. Florida State Democratic Minority Leader Jason Pizzo said that his constituents are so fed up with political hacks, he's switching to no party affiliation, otherwise known as an independent. So, this type of thing, stepping out of the parties, I think is another step. Just as if there was no federal government and the states had all the power, it just makes it harder for the control system, which has so few people compared to all of us out here that are not part of the control system, to govern us. So if there was no UN, if there was no European Union, even Russia itself, which is such a big nation with, as far as expansive land, and we saw the Soviet Union break up, and now you have Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, you have all these stands. You had Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. That wasn't that long ago when I was a kid. That was what it was. But if we break things down into smaller components, it makes it much more difficult for the control system to control us. So to me, it seems like that's, again, a good thing. Did you know that the UK's tested geoengineering program literally is called Satan? Yeah, it is. Stratospheric aerosol transport and nucleation. Satan. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't.
No, but you can look at cute little hamsters.
Yeah, and this little guy was rescued and saved. And when there's people out there that would take the time to rescue a hamster stranded in a flood, it tells you that there's plenty of good souls out there that really care about life in general. I think it's the majority. I don't think it's the minority. I think the majority are good souls that care about life and would love to help each other, regardless of what nation, political affiliation, or religion. I think, again, that's the next step when we stop looking at ourselves and giving ourselves all these labels, and we just simply work to help each other and lift each other up. We have to take a look from above, a higher view of things in order to see things clearly.
That's always very helpful.
Yeah, and look to man's best friend for guidance.
They're the best.
They absolutely are, and so are you guys. As always, source bless and namaste.
Namaste.